Hey, what's going on guys? Arekkz here, welcome back to another video for Borderlands 3, and today it's finally time to talk about my boy Flak. I have been super looking forward to finding out more about this Vault Hunter. If you guys have seen the coverage we've done up until now, you know that we have had a chance to go hands-on with the other 3 Vault Hunters, and while they are super awesome, I have of course been holding out for Flak because he's the one that I want to use day one. So yesterday, they dropped a character trailer showing off him and his pets working in action. It wasn't a gameplay trailer, it was more of a kind of fun, cinematic-y kind of one. So there is, of course, still gameplay to see, but the official website also got a skill tree previewer for all the Vault Hunters, so you can basically go around and mess around with their skill trees and basically build some builds before the game actually comes out. So if any of you guys have done that and you found some cool ones, by all means tell me about them in the comments down below. But today I just want to go through and talk about some of the most noteworthy things. Of course, if you want to see the entire skill tree yourself, you can, of course, click on the link. I will also put that down below, and you can start messing around with that stuff. But I want to kind of talk about these because his skill tree is really cool, because not only does it focus on him as a character, but it also focuses on his pets as well. And if you guys want to see some gameplay, then we have also had a chance to record some exclusive Borderlands gameplay that we're coming to the channel at some point soon. So while I can't say exactly when, keep your eyes peeled, stay tuned, and we'll have some stuff that you guys definitely won't want to miss. But anyway, with that out of the way, let's turn our attention to the skill tree. Now, basically the way that it works with Flak is it's broken down into, as with the other ones, 3 core skill trees, but this time not only do you have a personal action skill for yourself, you also have a selectable pet, and each pet is effectively tied to the individual skill tree. Technically speaking, you can mix and match if you want to, so you could actually pick the pet from this tree and go down another one. You wouldn't want to because there are pet skills that actually see your pet evolve, which is really cool, but you do have that freedom. You can mix and match as you see fit. But if we turn our attention to the stalker tree first, this one is definitely going to be the one that I choose because it's just got so many things that I like. Firstly, the pet is a Jabber, and this is basically your loyal companion who looks kind of like a monkey, and I think the reason I like him so much is because monkeys are my favourite animals, and I just really like the way he looks. So regardless of whether he's the best or not, this is definitely going to be the tree I go down in my first playthrough, at least kind of to begin with. With this one, the Jabber has a pistol, plus when he's there, Flak's movement speed is increased, and you can then issue an attack command which will cause the Jabber to throw radiation barrels at the enemies, which is really cool. As for your action skill within this tree, you have Fade Away, which is basically a cloak that allows you to go invisible, and from there you can then fire 3 shots, and each shot will automatically be a critical hit, which is going to be incredibly good for damage. So I definitely can't wait for that. Plus, when you're cloaked, you also have increased movement speed and health regeneration, which is pretty nice. Now, the way the trees work after that is that obviously you have your core skills, but then on the left you have your skill augments, as we have seen in other classes, but on the right we then have the evolutions for the pets. So very quickly, scanning through the top ones, of course if you want to read these in depth you can check these out for yourself, but you have the ability to increase your maximum health and make it so you can regenerate health. You have the option to lower your cooldown on the attack command, so you can then issue commands for your pets more frequently. And you also have the hunter skill, where after shooting an enemy, Flak gains a stack of furious attack, and for each stack of furious attack, Flak's handling and gun damage is increased, and stacks decay after a few seconds. Now on the second line, we of course have your first augment skill, which in this case changes the way that Fade Away works. If you want to make it so that you can just fire from being stealth, you can then do that at the cost of the critical hit. So basically, if you want to make it so you can kind of just like ninja your way around, then you can lose the critical hit damage and you can reduce the duration, but you can basically just be invisible and shoot. You then have Eager to Impress, which will reduce the cooldown on your action skill whenever you kill an enemy, plus whenever your pet kills an enemy, it also reduces the cooldown time of your action skill again, which is pretty cool, and the attack command that you can issue to your pet is also refreshed. You can then also make it so that your health regeneration extends to your allies, which is really cool, plus your pet shares twice the amount of health regen, and you can also make it so that you can increase your fire rate, and you can gain even more fire rate after reloading. The other options you have down your skill augments are Not My Circus, where after Fade Away ends, your pet will then taunt, which draws attention to the enemies in a huge radius, which is a good way to take the heat off of you, which is kind of cool, especially if you happen to use Fade Away kind of to escape, then it further kind of lends towards its usefulness. You also have, for a few seconds after taunting, the pet will gain a powerful damage reduction. This next one I really like, Lick the Wounds, where if you go into the fight for your life status, basically when you're downed, then your pet will actually attempt to revive you, which is going to be kind of handy for me, because if you've been catching my Borderlands streams recently, you might know that I have a tendency to run into danger and kind of go down quite a bit. So yeah, that's going to be handy. You then also have Turn the Tail and Run, where while moving, Flak constantly regenerates health and gains damage reduction, but then when you're still, Flak gains gun damage and fire rate. So effectively, if you're running away, it's going to make it easier for you to survive, again, kind of useful for me, and if you're standing still, think of it like in a boss DPS phase, then you can of course increase that gun damage. So again, Very nice. Now this is really cool because this is where your pets start to evolve. In this instance, if you get the Beefcake Jabber, then you evolve into a Beefcake, and for this one you'll discard the pistol, but your Jabber will instead hold a shotgun, and then while you're accompanied by Beefcake, you will also gain increased movement speed and maximum health, and then your attack command instead will go from throwing the radiation barrel to instead summoning melee weapons to deliver powerful attacks that knock enemies back. So very, very cool. On the next line, of course, you have Until You're Dead, so the health regeneration and movement speed of Fade Away persist for a short time after the skill has ended. You have the Fast and the Furious, which I love the name of that. While above half health, Flak's gun damage and movement speed are increased. You have the Hidden Machine. When an enemy has no target or is attacking a different target, Flak deals increased damage against them. So again, a lot of things here for stacking lots of damage, which is cool. And you then have the ability to upgrade your pet again to Digivolve them, or Pokemon Evolution, whatever you want to call it. This one turns him into the Gunslinger Jabber, so in this one he now equips an SMG instead of the shotgun, and when accompanied by the Gunslinger, Flak gains increased movement speed and critical hit damage. And this time the attack command will have your Jabber actually use a rocket launcher on the target, which is just nuts. Absolutely insane. Love it. Definitely want that. Finally, for your last augment skill, you have Unblinking Eye, where successive hits on the same target increase Flak's critical hit damage per hit, and Unblinking Eye resets every 3 hits. You then have Rage and Recover, which is a kill skill. After killing an enemy, Flak and Flak's pet regenerate health for a few seconds. And finally, you then have the Power Inside, where Flak and Flak's pet gain increased damage when Flak activates an action skill, and if Flak is at full health, the increased damage is doubled. So again, a lot of things in here to be able to stack damage. So basically you can go invisible, stack a load of damage, dish out the damage, and have your pet be crazy at the same time. So that is very, very cool. Now, jump over to the other trees, we of course have the Hunter tree, which focuses around the Spider Ants. Now for this one, when you're typically joined by it, you have automatic health regeneration, which is kind of handy, and if you issue the attack command, it will instead cause that to charge into the enemies. Meanwhile, your action skill in this one is the Rack Attack, so you send forward 2 racks to dive bomb enemies, and it has multiple charges. We've actually seen this in one of the trailers, which is kind of cool. Now if we take a second on this one just to go through the augment skills before we go to the main tree, for this one you can either convert Flak's rack into cryo damage so that they can then deal cryo elemental damage. You can make it so that when Flak's rack deal damage to an enemy, a portion of Flak's health is restored, which can be kind of handy. You can also make it so that you can then get additional rack to send out, or you can make it so that Flak's rack have increased cooldown rate and gain additional charge. So basically a lot of things in the augment section to allow you to use that more frequently or in different ways. As for your pet evolutions, you can then change the Spider Ant into a Scorcher, so it now evolves into a Scorcher, which will deal additional incendiary damage to all enemies, and while accompanied by this, Flak not only regenerates health, but also gains elemental resistance, and the attack command for this one will again see the Scorcher charge at enemies. Meanwhile, the final one, and the icon for this looks nuts, which is the Countess. For this one, it evolves into a Countess, which will then cause Flak to, again, regenerate health and gain damage reduction. But the action command for this one will have it burrow underground and then emerge, dealing corrosive damage in an area. So that sounds pretty crazy. Of course, scanning down this tree very quickly, you have the ability when you kill an enemy to gain a stack of Interplanetary Stalker, and for each of these stacks, you get a bonus to your damage dealt, plus they gain a unique stacking bonus depending on the type of enemy that you kill, and each bonus can stack up to 3 times, and each stack decays after a short time. So there's actually quite a lot of interesting stuff to dissect there, and we'll of course speak more about that when we get a chance to speak about the gameplay. You also have Leave No Trace, where when you score a critical hit, there is a chance for 1 ammo to be added to the magazine. And you then also have Second Intention, where you get increased reload speed after killing an enemy, and this bonus is also increased if Flak scores a critical hit. You then have Hunter's Eye, where you gain bonuses when fighting different types of enemies. You have Head Count, where whenever Flak scores a critical hit, there's a chance to reduce the cooldown on the action skill. And you then have Ambush Predator, where while there are no enemies nearby, Flak's weapon handling and critical hit damage are increased. You have Two Fang, where Flak has a chance to fire an extra projectile per shot, which could be pretty cool depending on the kind of weapons you use. You have Big Game, where Flak's hunter skills become much more effective and have a longer duration, which can be useful. Plus, you also have the Most Dangerous Game, where whenever Flak kills a badass or a stronger enemy, they gain increased critical hit damage, gun damage, and handling for a long time. And additionally, they receive a cash reward from the Intergalactic Bureau of Bounty Hunting, which is just brilliant. I love it. I love all the things that kind of sneaking in here for this character. He's just very cool. You have Galactic Shadow, where Flak deals increased critical hit damage and enemies are less likely to attack them. You have Grim Harvest, where Flak gains increased gun damage and action skill damage. And finally, you have Megavore, where Flak gains a chance to score a critical hit with weapons against any part of the enemy. So if aiming isn't your strong suit, then maybe this might be a thing to go down. Finally, for the last tree, we of course have the Scag, the Guard Scag, And when you're accompanied by this, you get increased damage, and the attack command for this one will see the Scag vomit acid onto the enemies. Meanwhile, your action skill is Gamma Burst, where Flak will create a rift at a target location, teleporting their pet through the rift and dealing radiation damage to nearby enemies, which sounds crazy. And additionally, Flak's pets can become irradiated, growing in size and dealing bonus radiation damage when it attacks. And if you use Gamma Burst, while your pet is in a downed or a dead state, it will revive the pet at the target location with 30% of its health, but will also double the action skill cooldown. So, double-edged sword there, but it's still pretty nice to be able to have that as a kind of, last-ditch turnaround. Much like last time, quickly going through the augments, you have Atomic Aroma, where while Gamma Burst is active, Flak's pet is surrounded by a radiation aura that constantly damages all nearby enemies. You have Empathic Rage, where for the duration of Gamma Burst, damage dealt by Flak is increased. You then have Endurance, where when either you or your pet kill an enemy while Gamma Burst is active, the duration of Gamma Burst is extended and pet damage is increased, and these effects can stack, which is pretty cool. So if you find yourself in a group of enemies, this could be mighty handy. And you then have Burst Aid, where after using Gamma Burst, the rift remains for the duration of the skill, and while standing near the rift, Flak and your allies regenerate health. As for your pet evolutions, you then have the Great Horn Scag, which will then increase Flak's damage and gun damage whilst it's nearby, and the action command for this one, or the attack command, the Great Horn Scag will charge at enemies and knock them into the air. Or you have the Iridian Scag, where this time again, when you're nearby, it will give you increased damage and fire rate, and this time the attack command will see the Iridian Scag pull nearby enemies in by generating a singularity, which is kind of nuts. As for your other skills, you then have the ability to increase your pet's damage, you have the ability to increase your gun damage and your action skill duration, and you also have it so that when your pet attacks an enemy, the first melee attack is an automatic critical hit that deals increased damage. You have a skill where when your pet deals damage, you actually regenerate health for a few seconds, and whenever Flak deals damage to an enemy, the pet health is restored for a portion of the damage dealt, so you basically have this nice little kind of double team thing going on. You then have the He Bites, where Flak's pet takes damage, the pet returns some of the damage to the attacker. Or you have Frenzy, where when your pet deals damage, Flak and their pet gain a stack of Frenzy, and each stack of Frenzy increases your damage, and the stacks of course again decay after a period of time. You have Psycho Head on a Stick, where whenever you kill an enemy, the pet gains increased movement speed and damage for a few seconds. You have Hive Mind, where when you take damage, a portion of the damage that they take is shared to the pet, which is kind of mean at the same time, but I can see what they're doing there. You have Barbaric York, where this increases the power of pet bonuses granted to Flak. You then have Mutated Defenses, where if your pet is at low health, it gains damage reduction and regenerates health, and this skill has a long cooldown. You have Pack Tactics, where all damage dealt by Flak and their pet is increased. Additionally, the maximum health of both you and your pet is also increased. You have Shared Spirits, where when you're on low health, a portion of all the damage dealt that they take is shared to the pet instead. And finally, you have Dominance, where it's a melee override skill, and Flak establishes dominance over an enemy, turning it into an ally for a short time. And if that enemy is a beast, the duration is doubled. And while under the effect of dominance, the target constantly loses health until it dies or the effect ends. Only one enemy can be dominated at a time, and an enemy can only be dominated once. So that's really, really cool, because then if you go to this tree, you can basically have your pet and potentially another pet if you factor in dominating an enemy. So yo, that's very cool. That is very, very cool. Still, I'm definitely going down the Stalker tree because I've got to have the Jabber. He just sounds too cool. But yeah, that's it for the time being. There's a quick look at Flak's skill tree and of course a few snippets from the trailer. Of course, be sure to keep it locked because again, as mentioned, I will have plenty of exclusive gameplay coming your way on the channel at some point. So definitely don't want to miss it. Turn on those notifications so you don't miss it when it does go live. For the time being, thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. I really hope you guys enjoyed that video. Remember to hit that subscribe button and also click on the little bell icon to turn on notifications so you don't miss my next upload. Also, don't forget, you can check out TwoSixNine and Paradise Central streaming over on Twitch 6 days a week. You can find a link to the multi-stream in the description box down below. Be sure to drop by and get involved. Thanks again for watching. Take it easy. Catch you next time. Peace out.